our freedoms and our sense of security that we have. But America has been changed today by all of this.
We have a breaking news story to tell you about. Apparently, a plane has just crashed into the World Trade Center here in New York City. It happened just a few moments ago, apparently. We have very little information available at this point in time, but on the phone we do have Jennifer Oberstein, who apparently witnessed this event. Jennifer, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, can you please tell me what you saw and to give me any information about what's going on there?
Yes, I have to tell you, it's quite terrifying. I'm in shock right now. I came out of the subway at Bowling Green. I was heading to work in Battery Park at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and I come out, and I heard a boom, looked up, and there was a big ball of fire. I'm now looking north at the World Trade Center, and it is the left twin tower if I'm looking north. I'm in Battery Park right now, and you can hear the fire engines and the emergency crews behind me, and it is unbelievable. When the fire first burst, it was a... Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you.
In air like I've never seen before. And as you know, I used to work in news. I've never seen any fire like this in the air. And the pieces of the building were flying down. It looks like it's like the top, I can't even tell you, maybe 20 floors. Intense smoke. It's horrible. I can't even describe it to you.
Do you have any idea what kind of plane it was?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any idea what hit the World Trade Center?
What it was?
Yeah, what kind of plane? We're getting reports that an airplane hit the building.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Honestly, I was walking up, and it looked up and saw a big boom and fire. You know, I got to tell you, we were all saying around here that it was very interesting that it would be a bomb and it would be so high up. So perhaps it was a plane. We have no talk of a plane. However, I have to tell you, there are still things flying in the air. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and it's horrifying.
Jennifer, it's Matt Lauer. I'd like to ask you, while you were close to the building, or have you, since the explosion, seen anyone who's been injured being taken out of the building? Are there ambulances dealing with people on the sidewalk around the building?
No, I have not. I have not gotten that close. I have to tell you that my father works in the World Financial Center, and I first called over there to see, because it's next door, to see, you know, if he was okay. I couldn't get through, and I'm far away right now. I thought it might be a little dangerous to get too close. I saw lots of debris coming down, and right now I'm in Battery Park. I don't know, you know, it's probably a 5-minute walk from here to the World Trade Center. But the smoke is incredible. I mean, I can't see the top of the tower, and it's starting to cover the top of the second tower.
In fact, we're looking at pictures right now, Jennifer, with a huge gaping hole on the side of the building and billowing smoke. So
I'm right now, you see, yeah, I think I see major fire. I definitely see fire.
And Jennifer, you said you're looking north at the building, so in other words, you're south of the building, is that right?
Correct.
Because we're looking at a picture that is looking at the north side of the building.
I'm on the exact opposite side.
And it appears that is where the largest hole is. And again, as you mentioned correctly, toward the top of the building, but on the north side, and then on the, what I think is the west side of the building, we can also see some holes there that could have been from damage once the impact occurred. Again, we've been told that this is a plane. We don't have confirmation on that, but there is an enormous hole in the north side of that building.
Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit more about what you heard when you heard this explosion? Describe it for us.
Absolutely. When I walked out of the subway, I looked at the Twin Towers because, I mean, I just always look up there. And right when I looked up, there was a boom. It wasn't that loud. Like, it wasn't huge. However, what was unbelievable was the amount of fire. It was a big ball of fire that just went up. And I looked around at people. We were all horrified. I'm stuttering because I'm in such shock. I've never seen anything like it. It's just horrible.
And of course, this is real cause for concern because the World Trade Center is one of the busiest office buildings here in New York with hundreds, perhaps thousands of workers
New York State Governor has his office, New York City office there.
Several thousand
and of
workers.
course, given the time that this has happened, it's only probably appropriate to surmise that people might have been in the building.
And you know, we've seen stories in the past where planes have hit buildings, small planes, and it would be hard to imagine that a small plane could create that kind of hole in a building like the World Trade Center and create the damage on the other side of the building from the sheer impact. Small planes tend to crumple and then fall down the building. Again, we haven't talked to anyone who's close to the base of the building, so we don't know what kind of debris or wreckage. Yes, go ahead, Jennifer.
I'm sorry. I'm just talking to a police officer right here, and he says, yes, he heard it was a plane.
Does he have any information about what kind of plane it was, or can he tell us any more details?
May I? I'm going to put you on hold for one moment, okay?
Just to recap, if you're just joining us, you're looking at dramatic pictures of New York's World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, where a short time ago we are told that a plane crashed into the upper floors of the westernmost tower. You can see a gaping hole. That is on the north side of the building, and you can see residual damage on the west side of that building, and obviously fires are burning right now in the World Trade Center.
Tall buildings have had a real problem here in New York. There was, back in the 40s, a plane hit the Empire State Building. In the 60s, a helicopter crashed on the top of what was the Pan Am Building, now the MetLife Building. So
right now we're getting information, Al, that it was a small commuter plane, and of course we'll let people know as soon as we have more information as to what actually caused this. And of course, on everybody's mind, who might have been hurt as a result of this terrible, terrible incident. We're going to be talking to more eyewitnesses coming up in just a few minutes.
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building.
The doctor said to me, Peggy, you don't understand. Pancreatic cancer is inoperable and incurable. And he says, well, Peggy, you've got 2 months to live. It was like he was telling me, go to the store. There was no compassion. And that was heartbreaking. My life was an hourglass. I was home, laying on the couch, just dying. My sister Pam called the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. When I got there, I knew that I was going to be cared for. I met with the doctor after the tests were done and said, how long do I have? And he looked at me and he said, Peggy, we did a lot of tests on you. And I never saw one thing stamped on the bottom of your foot that said you were going to die in 2 months. You have no expiration date. I thought, wow.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is unlike any other cancer hospital, full of hope, committed to your fight. We use every weapon: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, nutrition, spiritual support, and mind-body medicine. We surround you with a real team, working together, all under one roof.
Each time I went back to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I responded better. My tumors were shrinking. Came back in September again, and they still couldn't see anything. I said, you're kidding me. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep testing, but we can't see the tumors anymore.
Please call the number on your screen to speak with an oncology information specialist and receive a life-changing information kit and DVD packed with valuable information. Call now and learn about treatment options you may not even know exist.
It's really unbelievable how one doctor can tell me I have 2 months to live. And then I go to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and they saved my life. Hope is a mainstay. Hope is everything.
Don't give up. Your fight is our fight. Call Cancer Treatment Centers of America today.
Life has taught me to just try and be the best that I can be. And I thank the Academy for saying to me that on this given night, I was the best that I could be.
Science has shown us that there is a direct link between what is happening in the environment and how that affects our health. A Healthy Child is there to be an educator that has children's best interest in mind.
Visit us at healthychild.org.
What's on your mind?
It's my mom. She's not safe living by herself. I need to move her somewhere, but I don't know how to start.
You know, there's a great free service that can help. It's called A Place for Mom.
A Place for Mom?
That's right. They're a free elder care referral service. You know, I called them last year when I needed help with my dad, and their local elder care expert gave me a list of assisted living communities right here in town.
Wow, that's exactly what I need. How do I reach them?
Just call 1-800-706-5254 or visit aplaceformom.com.
We're back at 9 o'clock Eastern time on this Tuesday morning, and we're back with dramatic pictures of an accident that has happened just a short time ago. You're looking at the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, where just a few minutes ago we're told that a plane, some reports are that it was a small commuter plane, crashed into the upper floors of one of the Twin Towers. You can see fire and flames or smoke billowing from that tower. There is a gaping hole on the north side of the building. That's the side you're seeing to the left-hand side of your screen right now, and other damage to the west side of that building, which is to the right side of your screen. This, of course, happened just before the morning commute, before people were heading into their offices, and while I'm sure some people were already at work, immediately there's speculation or cause for concern. This is the World Trade Center that was the center of a terrorist bombing some years ago, so the questions have to be asked, was this purely an accident, or could this have been an intentional act? But either way, extensive damage has been done to this building.
It also looks like there's smoke coming out of the east side of the building. That shot we just saw looks like white smoke billowing out the side of the east side of the building.
Obviously, horrified commuters were absolutely devastated when they heard this explosion. We talked with somebody a moment ago about that, Jennifer Oberstein, and also another eyewitness, Elliot Walker, who is actually a producer here on the Today Show. Elliot, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Katie.
Hi, Elliot. Tell me where you are and what you saw.
Well, I live in this area. I've returned to my apartment, but I was walking down the sidewalk delivering my young daughter to school, and we heard a very loud sound, the kind of sound you hear when a plane is going fast past you, followed by an enormous crash and an immediate explosion. I don't think we could feel shock waves, but we sort of felt like we did. And we were in a position where we could see the Trade Center almost immediately between the other buildings. And an enormous fireball that must have been 300 feet across was visible immediately. A secondary explosion, I think, and then plumes of smoke. There must have been a 3-block cloud of white smoke. Now, from where I was on the street a moment ago, you can in fact see smoke leaving the building on 3 sides. It seems to be coming out on at least 4 or 5 floors. The air is filled with hundreds of thousands of pieces of paper that are just sort of floating like confetti. The area is swarmed with emergency vehicles and sirens. Obviously, we're very sensitive to this kind of thing in this neighborhood.
Elliot, have you, of course, because of the incident that occurred in the early 1990s, have you seen any evidence, Elliot, of people being taken out of the building? You say that emergency vehicles are there, understandably so, but of course the major concern is human loss. I mean, do you know if there were many people in the building?
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
Oh my!
Something else has
You know what? We just saw a plane circling the building.
It is in the other building.
We just saw a plane circling the building. a second ago on the shot right before
I
that.
think there may have been another impact. Can you tell? I just heard another very loud bang, and a very large plane that might have been a DC-9 or a 747 just flew past my window, and I think it may have hit the Trade Center again.
To be honest, Elliot, I didn't get the impression that it was that big a plane.
It looks big from here.
I did see a plane go by a second ago, though, and it has now impacted the building. I'm trying to see if it's the different tower.
I think it may have been. I believe
tower.
the first one was World Trade Center 1, and it looks, from what I'm seeing on the television, like it may have been
We're
the
going to
second
see,
building.
this is a piece of tape, and we may actually see another plane enter the picture here in a second.
I wonder if there are air traffic control problems.
Let's go back to Jennifer Oberstein, who was talking to a second ago. Jennifer, did you see this happen?
Hello?
Did you just see this happen, Jennifer?
Matt, I've never seen any. It looks like a movie. I saw a large plane, like a jet, going immediately headed directly into the World Trade Center. It just flew into it, into the other tower, coming from south to north. I watched the plane fly into the World Trade Center. It was a jet. It was a very large plane. It was going fast. It went past the Ritz-Carlton Hotel that's being built in Battery Park. It flew right past it, almost hit it, and then went in.
This is so shocking, of course, to everybody watching.
I've never seen anything like it. It literally flew itself into World Trade Center.
Obviously, now we move from what appears to have, there it is right there.
Again, I'm looking from south to north, and it went into the one on the right.
That appeared to be at least a 727. We saw it a second ago. Here comes the videotape that we just showed you. You will see what appears to be a large plane. It could be a 727 right there, maybe even bigger, flying right into the side of the World Trade Center.
It was at least a 727. It was a jet. I couldn't believe my eyes watching it right above me.
And now you have to move from talk about a possible accident to talk about something deliberate that has happened here. We're going to immediately check with air traffic control in the area to find out if they had contact with either of these planes before the accident. But what we've just seen is about the most shocking videotape I've ever seen.
This team down here is incredible. People are out of their office buildings, watching, crying, taking pictures. I've never seen anything like it down here.
Stop struggling with back-breaking fall cleanup and throw away your rake. Introducing the most powerful line of Cyclone rakes ever. Now you can clear overgrown fields or the largest lawns with ease. In the fall, the Cyclone rake vacuums and mulches tons of leaves while you drive. Look, clearing your property with blowers doesn't work. Neither does raking and unloading heavy tarps. The Cyclone rake turns those long days of back-breaking yard cleanup into a ride in the park.
Before I owned the Cyclone rake, it was a really tough and laborious job. I had to work weekend after weekend clearing my yard. Well, now that I own a Cyclone rake, a job that used to take me hours now can be done in less than an hour. It's been actually kind of a fun job to watch the leaves disappear into the Cyclone rake.
This is my Cyclone rake here, and I used to do it with this, which would take me a heck of a long time, so I don't need that anymore. Owning a Cyclone rake, my God, it takes a heck of a load off my back.
The Cyclone rake turns debris like this into mulch like this. Volume is reduced many times in size. The Cyclone rake holds up to 415 gallons of mulch debris in a single load. That's more than 12 of these large lawn barrels. Look how the Power Vacuum pickup accessory devours this deep leaf drift. With 17 feet of reach, it gives you professional cleanup power and goes everywhere your mower can.
I think the Cyclone rake's vacuum power is awesome. I mean, it sucks up pretty much everything. Leaves, small twigs, clumps of dirt.
Unloading the Cyclone rake is easy too. Just back up to your compost site, lift the collector and drive away. With the new Cyclone rake power lifter, just push a button and the collector raises automatically. Then drive away to empty. Or attach the power unloader to unload to places you can't even drive to, like over a wall or into the woods. Then, the Cyclone rake folds flat and hangs right on the wall. It's easy to store in any garage or shed. Call toll-free 800-926-2976 or visit CycloneRake.com for your free catalog and DVD. That's 800-926-2976 or CycloneRake.com for this valuable free information kit. 800-926-2976.
Sunday, were they victims of a carjacking or did he try to get away with murder? A long, dark stretch of road premieres Sunday at 10 on MSNBC.
I'm Rachel Maddow. This is MSNBC, the place for politics.
completely impossible to understand why this is happening and to figure out what in the world is going on.
I think we have to be grateful
Ali
that the first
Eberhard
plane hit before 9 a.m., but it's now after 9 a.m., and I just wonder how many people were in those offices.
Well, hopefully that they were evacuated following the first incident, and we can only hope that there was a very short period of time from when we first learned about this was probably about 8:50 Eastern Time. This second incident occurred about 9:05, and so obviously that would be a short amount of time to get people out of the building. Ali Eberhard is another witness who is on the ground. Ali, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Please tell me what you're seeing.
Well, I live in Lower Manhattan. I face the north tower, the north side where the first plane crashed into the building, and right now there's a lot of chaos on the ground, a lot of emergency vehicles. Everyone from the World Financial Center has exited and is walking north up to Battery Park North. There's just mass and mass of people walking north uptown of Manhattan. I was happened to look on the first tower, and I actually saw people waving where the first plane crashed through, and then it was unbelievable seeing this second jet come crashing into the second tower. What is going on?
And unfortunately, here in New York, many of our stations cannot see this, local stations, because the antennas are on the World Trade Center. They're backup towers on the Empire State Building, but television communication in New York City is probably pretty much knocked off the air.
I just want to say something. We're looking at a picture here where it appears, because of the angle, I think, that the towers are leaning, and I don't think that is actually the case, because after the first impact, it looked as if it was the right-hand tower was leaning, and now somebody is saying, we're getting a witness saying they are leaning actually right now, which will give you an idea of the type of impact we're talking about.
And that perhaps they're buckling under the force of the collision or the hole that's resulted from these two planes.
We're going to go to George Shea right now, who has also witnessed both or one of these collisions. George, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
What did you see, George?
Yeah, well, I was in a car driving up, just gotten out of the Battery Tunnel and driving north on West Street when an enormous explosion happened. And it was larger than a construction explosion. I looked out the window, and what appeared to be an enormous tire smashed into the ground, and I believe it hit the car to the right of me. And it was just so scary, and there was also a ton of debris fall. And I jumped out of the car and I ran south away from the building because I thought there would be further explosions.
And have you seen anyone injured on the ground, George?
A man next to me was actually hit by a piece of debris in his arm, and they said that someone had been badly hurt in a car ahead of me. I'm not certain if it was the car next to me, and I can't verify that. All I can say is that a lot of debris was falling. It was very confusing because everybody, I think, immediately assumed that a bomb had exploded, and that sort of had people thinking that further bombs may explode. So there was sort of a rush away.
Did you see, George, the second plane, that jet, fly into the other twin tower?
I heard two explosions, however. There was a first explosion that was louder, and then a second explosion, and but I could not see that, and I looked up, and when I looked up, I saw debris falling, and the tire, as I said, a very large tire.
Well, of course, this is, as we've said, completely shocking video and a shocking turn of events, and we've been talking here that the first incident, one might surmise that it was some kind of accident, and then to have a second, what appeared to be 727 jet, of course, the question of terrorist activity has to surface, and the question of whether this was an intentional terrorist act of some kind.
You know, keep in mind that we're in an area here where there are three major airports. You have Newark Airport, Kennedy Airport, and LaGuardia Airport, all within several miles of the World Trade Center. You know, it's very unusual for a plane to get into this area without being completely tracked or identified by air traffic control. So you would have to imagine that, if this plane were headed right for the World Trade Center, there must have been someone trying to talk or communicate with that pilot, and for it to fly right into the side of the building.
Well, the smaller plane you can understand almost, but a jumbo jet, a large jet, completely
Let's re-rack that video, if we could, down in the control room where we actually saw the jet flying into the building,
and
which
I was mistaken.
unbelievable.
When Elliot Walker said it was a big plane, I was looking in the distance and saw a small plane, which might have been a helicopter, actually. To see this plane come into the picture,
there it is.
That is a big plane. And, I mean, it's hard to imagine. It's a 737, we're now being told, and flying directly into the midsection of the what would be the eastern tower of the World Trade Center.
Needless to say, it's pandemonium, I am sure, down there, and we gathered that from even the eyewitnesses with whom we spoke, and how terrifying this was for them to see. And you can only imagine, as you get closer to the Twin Towers, a New York landmark, what the scene must be like there.
You know, you talked about the buildings looking like they're buckled. They're designed to have a 2-degree sway in either direction because of the height of the building and to be able to deal with wind and stress, but something like that is more than it's probably designed for.
We want to go now out to Jane Daranowski, who I understand is a television producer here in New York. Jane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm down here near the World Trade Center. I was walking down 6th Avenue this morning at 8:42 a.m. A group of us saw a plane veer through the buildings. Then we saw a huge cloud of smoke, and then fire came out of one of the towers. Here, it's near the upper floor, as you can probably see with your chopper shots. And then about 10 minutes ago, a second explosion in the second tower. Lower down, that was not affected by the plane, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. But right now, there's a huge gaping hole in one of the towers, and the other building is on fire. The scene down here is incredible. People are out of their office buildings, watching, crying, taking pictures. I've never seen anything like it down here.
And we want to just mention that when the impact hit the first tower, you would hope that people who were in the second tower were beginning to evacuate, especially if air traffic control had some indication that this was deliberate. You'd hope that they were starting to get people out of the other tower before this second plane hit that tower.
But I mean, if you tried to go up, you know, we've been upstairs in the towers of the, in the restaurant up there to try to get down.
I mean, the elevators would have been jammed, no question, but if there was an indication that this was deliberate in the first case, you'd hope that they would immediately begin evacuation in the second tower.
I've just spoken to top U.S. officials with the access to latest intelligence, and they said, quote, that this was clearly terrorist-related, no question about it.
You might not realize how much of your life is on your computer until it's too late. Your photos, emails, financial records, all gone in an instant. And it happens all the time. Hard drives crash, computers get lost, stolen, or hit by viruses. When it happened to me, I started backing up to CDs and external hard drives. But then, I found Carbonite. Carbonite works in the background, automatically backing up your files. Your files are all encrypted before they leave your computer, so nobody else can see them. And no matter what happens to your computer, you break it, lose it, or get a virus, your backup is safe with Carbonite. And getting your files back just takes a few clicks.
For just $55 a year, Carbonite automatically backs up your computer files off-site, and everything is encrypted to protect your privacy. Try it risk-free with offer code TV at Carbonite.com.
These days, I don't even think about backing up my computer. With Carbonite, it just happens. It's the best $55 I ever spent.
Because your life is on your computer, there's Carbonite, the way backup is done.
Proposal's back on my office computer. Call for help.
Thanks, fellas, but
Where's the keyboard?
Need a better way to get to your computer when you're away from the office? With GoToMyPC, you can take your office with you wherever you go. GoToMyPC is the award-winning service that lets you work on your office PC from any other computer with an internet connection, just as if you're sitting at your desk. Just log on to GoToMyPC.com and start working with all your programs. Access all your files. Use your email. It's fast, easy, and completely secure. Try GoToMyPC now, free for 30 days. Just visit GoToMyPC.com and use promo code MSNBC.
If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call the number on your screen now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by exposure to asbestos, call 1-800-948-5159 now. Mesothelioma is a rare cancer most often caused by exposure to asbestos. You may have been put at risk of exposure in shipyards or mills, in the Navy, or in industries like heating, construction, and automotive. Please, don't wait. We have successfully helped hundreds of victims and their families get the compensation they deserve. Compensation to help with treatment, medical bills, and care. Call 1-800-948-5159 for your free no-obligation information packet and free legal consultation. That's 1-800-948-5159.
I'm Dan Pfeffler, and here's what's happening. The Space Shuttle Discovery landed in California Friday night. 2 days of bad weather over Florida's Kennedy Space Center. That forced NASA to divert the shuttle to the alternate landing site in the Mojave Desert. Federal health officials say influenza is off to an early start this year, and so far they say most of the cases are in fact swine flu. Officials say the swine flu vaccine, though, that will not be available until mid-October. Now let's go back to 9/11 as it happened.
We've got another eyewitness that we'd like to speak with. Dan Dietrich is on the phone. Dan, tell me where you are and what you're seeing or what you saw.
Okay, what I saw was one plane coming in low from the north down over 7th Avenue. It crashed into the top or the middle of one of the towers. 10 minutes later, I saw another plane crash into the other side of the tower at a lower level. It looked to me a small, commercial plane, the first plane that I saw. It crashed into the top of the tower, and there was a huge fireball, and there was a gaping hole in the side of the tower. As we were waiting outside and looking at it, another plane came in low, I believe from the other side, and hit the the middle of the other tower. Now, I saw both planes, two separate planes, crash into each tower.
And Dan, and again, the size of the planes, tell me about that.
I would say that the plane was a mid-size, looked to be a commercial airline. I don't know. I thought perhaps, a commercial airline, a mid-size, not a jumbo jet.
This, of course, is unconfirmed, but we are getting information from an employee of United Airlines. And again, we want to emphasize this is unconfirmed, but there is speculation that an American Airlines plane was hijacked and crashed on purpose into the World Trade Center, and that the second plane was another plane, perhaps hijacked, was then flown in to the second tower. We want to also remind people that the World Trade Center bombing that took place on February 26th back in 1993, the product of a terrorist attack, the result of a terrorist attack that killed 6 people and injured more than 1,000. Of course, that happened on a Friday afternoon. I think, Matt, you and Al were working that day.
We were.
I know I was at home in Virginia watching it in disbelief, and now it feels a bit like deja vu. But of course, this is so much more bizarre.
Yeah, no question. And you keep in mind that killed 6 people, injured 1,000, and the explosion happened in a garage in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
This was a direct hit on the midsection or upper section of the tower, so the potential for injuries and death much larger. Of course, also some people on the planes.
Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. If they were hijacked and they were en route to a different destination,
right.
Of course, this story continues to unfold. Bob Kerr joins us now. Bob, where are you and what can you tell us?
Katie, good morning. I'm on the north lawn at the White House, and the first thing we looked for here in light of what's happened is whether there is any unusual activity out here, whether there's an unusual police or Secret Service presence, people on the roof, that sort of thing. We don't see that as we speak. I did try to call the National Security Office here. As you know, the president is out of town. He is in Florida. We're told he has been informed of this. I can tell you that the White House national security staff that remains here is in a senior level meeting, and we're hoping to hear from them as soon as possible. But Katie, the reaction here to the pictures you're seeing and to the initial pictures when they came up, even in what's called the lower press office here at the White House, was one of shock. I mean, people are just standing around television monitors looking at this. And when I say people, I don't mean just the reporters. I mean the people who are actually in the office who work here at the White House.
So very little information is coming out of the White House at this juncture, but needless to say, if the speculation is true about some kind of terrorist event, this will be a major, major crisis for the Bush administration. Jim Miklaszewski is at the Pentagon now. Mick, are you hearing any more information from there?
Well, according to U.S. intelligence officials, Katie, there appeared, at least to their knowledge, to be no specific threat involving hijacking airliners or any attacks on buildings in the New York area. U.S. intelligence officials report this morning that there are, they constantly are hearing about threats, possible terrorist threats against American targets worldwide. But as far as they know this morning, they had no early indications that anything of this nature could have occurred. Pentagon officials are already calling this a terrorist attack. They say that they have not yet ordered the scrambling of any military jets. If National Guard were to be scrambled in that area, that would be at the order of the governor. Now, of course, the president does have the authority to scramble American military forces in defense, but there's a problem here. What now do you defend against exactly? If you put warplanes in the air, there's always a danger that they could misidentify a pilot's intention. Although I believe, according to officials here,
I just wanted to tell you guys, if you want to continue,
are now off limits and restricted. But so far, the U.S. military and Pentagon officials are scrambling to get as much information as they possibly can to determine what course of action, if any, the U.S. military would take.
But Mick, they are describing this as a terrorist attack right now.
There are some officials here in the Pentagon who are calling this an obvious terrorist attack based on very preliminary information. The information that intelligence officials are getting in terms of a possible hijacked plane, and of course the very horrifying video of the plane veering into the tower itself is a clear indication to everyone here that this is not an accident. Primary concern right now is protecting the American public in the New York area right now against any possible further attacks by the air. They have no indications there will be, but there is some concern that since this appeared to be such a highly coordinated attack, that there may be other terrorist attacks that could be planned either in New York or elsewhere. This is absolutely the worst case scenario for the counter-terrorist planners because apparently, according to intelligence officials, there were no firm indications prior to this that anything like this could have happened. But in terms of scrambling the U.S. military, it would be for protection for the time being and not necessarily even thinking right now about any kind of retaliation.
All right, David Gregory is now on the phone from Longboat Key, actually, where
he's following the president.
That's right. David?
Yes, Katie, the president is about to begin an education event, which is obviously being canceled. The event will go forward insofar as the president, we expect momentarily, will come out and make a statement about this. He was made aware en route from his hotel to this school here in Sarasota where he was going to talk about education. He'll make a statement, then we're told by White House officials that he will quickly depart for Washington.
We should mention, David, that New York City Airport or New York area airports have all been closed. The Lincoln Tunnel has been closed here in New York. While we're getting ready to listen to the president, let's go back to Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon. Jim, you talk about counter-terrorist measures that are in place. Can you shed any light for us on what kind of things are in place in the event of an attack of this nature?
Well, Katie, it's very difficult for the U.S. military to respond to this kind of thing right now, because it's unclear exactly who's behind it and if there are any other potential attacks or incidents like this, because this has obviously not been officially declared a terrorist attack. But all the experts who are looking at these pictures say there's no doubt about it. This was a coordinated terrorist attack. But who and why is very much unclear right now. And the problem with trying to then put planes in the air to try to prevent any further attacks is these are, after all, open airspaces for the most part, and it's difficult for the U.S. military to simply scramble jets and put them in the air, and then, according to officials here, then do what? This area, of course, according to officials here, is obviously going to be declared off limits in terms of any air traffic. But right now, officials here at the Pentagon are simply scrambling to find out first what happened, right, and what potential reaction the U.S. military could provide in terms of protection, possible further protection against any further potential attacks.
And Mick, it's important to note that if these planes were hijacked, if they were carrying passengers, there isn't much that military officials could have done. You can't shoot down a plane like that for risk of the people on board, plus for the injuries you could cause on the ground in a place like Manhattan. Go ahead.
That's exactly right. And the president, as we said earlier, does in fact have the authority to scramble the military to put them up in some kind of force protection mode. The governor has the Air National Guard at his disposal. He can do that. But again, officials are pretty much wondering exactly what to do in terms of protection and how. Again, to the terrorist officials, this is absolutely the worst case scenario because there right now seems to be not much they can do in terms of the aftermath.
Mick, obviously, yeah, we're scrambling for information here. I would just want to read this Reuters wire that says 2 planes crashed into the towers of the World Trade Center on Tuesday morning, causing huge explosions and killing at least 6 people. CNBC TV said there were at least 1,000 injured. Both towers of the Lower Manhattan landmark, where thousands of people work, were the scenes of a bombing in 1993. The FBI told the Associated Press that it was, quote, foul play and not an accident. A person who answered the phone, that was reported by ABC, a person who answered the phone on the trading floor at interdealer broker Cantor Fitzgerald, located near the top of the World Trade Center, said, "We're blanking dying," when asked what was happening, and hung up. There was screaming and yelling in the background, and a follow-up call was not answered. Nick Fulton, an eyewitness, said just before the first explosion he saw a plane fly over his apartment in the Soho district of Lower Manhattan. Jamie Gangel is on the telephone, our national correspondent, with more information. Jamie, what can you tell us?
Katie, I've just spoken to top U.S. officials with the access to latest intelligence, and they said, quote, that this was clearly terrorist-related, no question about it. They said that they couldn't give any further details now, not because they didn't want to share it, but because they just don't know yet. They're at the earliest stages.
So do they know, Jamie, for example, if a plane was in fact hijacked?
They would not answer that, and I think that it's because I think that they just are getting the earliest details and they're afraid of putting out misinformation. But they said, that it was clearly terrorist related.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
Seven-year-old Loveness needs food. She needs medical care. She needs clothes and shoes to protect her feet. she needs to go to school. Instead, she crouches here, covered in dust, breaking rocks for pennies a day after day after day. And she's not alone. Children International has identified thousands of desperately poor children like Loveness, begging in the streets, lonely, hungry, sick, and dying from diseases that we can easily prevent. But there is hope, because when you sponsor Loveness or a child like her, you'll change her life completely. Your sponsorship will give your child access to emergency food, medical and dental care, clothing, and the opportunity for the education she desperately needs. In return, you'll receive personal letters, updated photos, and of course, her love and gratitude. And now you can find out if sponsorship is right for you with absolutely no cost, no risk, and no obligation. Simply call and we'll rush you the photo and family history of a special boy or girl who desperately needs your love and help. Then, if you decide to become a sponsor, your gift will be only 72 cents a day. That's only $22 a month. You can help stop the suffering of a child in poverty right now. Please don't delay. Please call now. Find out if sponsorship is right for you with absolutely no cost, no risk, and no obligation. Call now and we'll rush you your free information kit.
Call 1-800-896-8808. That's 1-800-896-8808. Or visit us at www.childreninternational.com/TV.
A child who needs you is waiting. Please call.
Please record at a safe distance. The all-new season of Caught on Camera, beginning Saturday at 8 on MSNBC.
We're looking again, if you're just joining us, at both towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, where two planes have crashed into the towers, one shortly before 9 o'clock Eastern Time, one shortly after 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And as you can see, the tower on the left was hit just above the midsection point. They're both 110 floors high, 1,300 feet above the ground. The tower on the right was hit more, probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up the tower, but you can see fires burning in both towers. We actually saw a videotape. We watched the second tape, or the second plane hit the building. You'll watch it enter from the right portion of the screen and then make contact with the left-hand tower in what is shocking video. And here it comes right there. And you can see the impact on one side of the building and the residual damage coming out of another side of the building. And one can only imagine that that one occurred shortly after 9 o'clock in the morning. How many people were in the building at the time of the impact? And it's a large plane. We're told it was either a 737. Some reports that the first plane was a 757.
Some kind of Airbus. That was what the United worker told us. That apparently that it was an American Airlines plane that had been hijacked from Boston to Los Angeles, but we're just getting initial reports of that. And again, we must tell you that we're trying to get as much information, but it is trickling in at a very slow pace. So all of this is unconfirmed, and of course speculation of a terrorist attack is unconfirmed, although that is what some Pentagon officials are saying. Let's go to President Bush right now.
Unfortunately, we'll be going back to Washington after my remarks. Secretary Rod Page and Lieutenant Governor will take the podium and discuss education. I do want to thank the folks here at Booker Elementary School for their hospitality. Today, we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
We're going to go to Andrea Mitchell now, who has more information on this tragedy. Andrea?
Matt and Katie, I've spoken to a top U.S. official who says that early reports to our intelligence community and to other officials within the administration are that this was a hijacked American Airlines plane en route from Boston to Los Angeles. One of the two planes, they say, was apparently a hijacked American Airlines plane. They caution that early reports still need further confirmation, but this is at least what the U.S. government is being told by American Airlines officials, apparently. They are assuming and have obviously informed the president that this is a terror attack.
And Andrea, we have no information as to in what term of the flight this plane was taken over, how much warning that air traffic controllers may have had that someone hostile was at the controls of this plane?
Exactly right. They had no other information, just that at least one of the two planes was hijacked from Boston en route to Los Angeles, presumably after it had already been in the air and en route, because I was told en route to Los Angeles. So probably hijacked after it had taken off. As you know, those are very short flights. Those are usually 737s or 757s on that route. But this clearly, according to the U.S. government, is a terror attack, as you heard the president say. Now, one of the things, Matt and Katie, we should understand is that there was no specific threat that the U.S. government is aware of. No specific terror alert other than the worldwide caution that had been reissued in recent days because of the strife in the Middle East, because of concerns over terrorists. Of course, the best known is Osama bin Laden, but no alert coming from his organization. And as far as they know, as of this morning, as of this minute, he is in Afghanistan.
But as we should mention, Andrea, it appears that this was a well-coordinated bombing or terrorist act because of the fact that two planes were used, both substantial in size, and the fact that they both hit the World Trade Center within 18 minutes of one another. Obviously, a lot of planning went into this attack. Let's go to NBC's Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon now. Mick, what can you tell us?
Matt, to add to what Andrea Mitchell just said, senior military officials here at the Pentagon are saying they are getting information that the American Airlines Flight 11, after it left Boston, apparently, was hijacked and was diverted, apparently, the early information was being diverted to JFK for some reason. And then, obviously, nobody knows exactly who was at the controls of the plane, but it broke off its route from to Los Angeles and was headed toward JFK. That was the initial information that officials had received when obviously it did not go to JFK, but veered off and headed toward the World Trade Center. But again, no indication as to who may be responsible or who was at the controls of that plane when it rammed into the World Trade Center. Katie, I don't want to alarm anybody right now, but apparently it felt just a few moments ago like there was an explosion of some kind here at the Pentagon.
Well, I was shopping for a new car. Which one's me? A cool convertible or an SUV? Too bad I didn't know my credit was whack, cause now I'm driving off the lot in a used subcompact. F-R-E-E, that spells free. CreditReport.com, baby. Saw their ads on my TV. Thought about going but was too lazy. Now instead of looking fly and rolling fat, my legs are sticking to the vinyl and my posse's getting laughed at. F-R-E-E, that spells free. CreditReport.com, baby.
Offer applies with enrollment and Triple Advantage.
I run a small business. Very small, actually, just me and my computer. In fact, my whole life is on that computer, so I'd be devastated if I lost it. It happens to people all the time. Hard drives crash, computers get lost, stolen, hit by viruses. You can try to back up your important stuff, but who has the time to back up everything? Well, now, I do. Carbonite's online backup service automatically backs up my files off-site, where they're safe from disasters, encrypted and totally private. I sign up once and never lift a finger. They take care of everything, and I do nothing.
For just $55 a year, Carbonite automatically backs up your computer files off-site, and everything is encrypted to protect your privacy. Try it risk-free with offer code TV at Carbonite.com.
My business may be small, but my backups run like I'm one of the world's biggest companies. It's the best $55 I ever spent.
Because your life is on your computer, there's Carbonite, the way backup is done.
Are you paying more than $1.70 a month for phone service? Then you need MagicJack for just $19.95 a year. $19.95 a year. We are now adding over 250,000 new customers a month because we give you free local and long distance, your own phone number, voicemail, and directory assistance. Replace your phone company or add a second line with MagicJack for just $19.95 a year. Get MagicJack at Best Buy.
I don't care if you're rich or poor, young or old. I will come after you. I will hit you so hard you won't know what day it is. You'll want to scream for help, but you won't be able to. I'll cripple an arm or a leg, or maybe, just maybe, I will kill you. I am a stroke.
Learn to recognize a stroke and act quickly. Time lost is brain lost.
What's on your mind?
It's my mom. She's not safe living by herself. I need to move her somewhere, but I don't know how to start.
You know, there's a great free service that can help. It's called A Place for Mom.
A Place for Mom?
That's right. They're a free elder care referral service. You know, I called them last year when I needed help with my dad, and their local elder care expert gave me a list of assisted living communities right here in town.
Wow, that's exactly what I need. How do I reach them?
Just call 1-800-706-5254 or visit aplaceformom.com.
Right now, we want to talk with Larry Johnson, a terrorism expert. In fact, the former deputy director of the State Department's Office on Counterterrorism. Mr. Johnson, can you please put this into some kind of perspective for us and give us your insight on what might have happened here?
Well, you know, first we need to be cautious before jumping to the conclusion that it's necessarily terrorism. I mean, I would be inclined, based upon the preliminary reports we've seen, to say that that's the case. But there's always the possibility that you may find out after the fact that this was some suicide pact for some reason that had nothing to do with politics. That said, this is a first. This is a very rare event. It's unlikely to be repeated, but, and I think President Bush put his finger on it, we have to find who did this, and any country, any nation in the world that is in any way involved and responsible, if it turns out to be terrorism, will require a response from the United States, and the United States has got to be willing to pay that price.
Mr. Johnson, obviously we were completely stunned when about 25 minutes after the first explosion, or after the first plane crashed into one of the Twin Towers, another very large plane did the same thing. Right. And we've been talking with our correspondents all morning about sort of if another incident could happen on the heels of these two. What kind of measures are in place to prepare for something else that could conceivably happen?
Well, I think one of the steps that's already being taken, I was at National Airport getting ready to fly to LaGuardia when this occurred. They have shut down air traffic going in and out of the cities. Now, apart from shutting down the air traffic, you're talking about an enormous disruption economically for the nation right now with the air traffic not going in, and people are going to err on the side of caution.
Larry, I wanted to ask you, all morning that correspondents have also been saying, particularly Bob Kerr and Jim Miklashevsky, that there was and Andrea Mitchell, no warning attached to this event. Right. Generally speaking, do we get some kind of, do U.S. officials, government agencies get some kind of warning from a particular group, or is this fairly typical in terms of an event happening without any foreshadowing?
No, Katie, this unfortunately is typical. It's only in the movies that you get the advanced warnings. You know, you look at every major terrorist incident against the United States, whether you're talking Pan Am 103, the World Trade Center, the USS Cole bombing, the bombing in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. Okay. Rarely do you get an advance notice.
Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Jim Miklashevsky has some new information at the Pentagon. I hope you'll stand by and continue to talk with us. Mick?
Katie, I don't want to alarm anybody right now, but apparently it felt just a few moments ago like there was an explosion of some kind here at the Pentagon. We're on the E-ring of the Pentagon. We have a window that faces out toward the Potomac, toward the Kennedy Center. We haven't been able to see or hear anything after the initial blast. I just stepped out in the hallway. Security guards were herding people out of the building, and I saw just a moment ago as I looked outside, a number of construction workers who have been working here have taken flight. They're running as far away from the building as they can right now. I hear no sirens going off in the building. I see no smoke, but the building shook. For just a couple of seconds, the windows rattled, and security personnel are doing what they can momentarily to clear this part of the building. Again, I have no idea whether it was part of the construction work, whether it was an accident, or what is going on. We're going to try to find those details and get them to you as soon as possible. But interestingly enough, one intelligence official here in the building said when he saw what appeared to be the coordinated attack on the World Trade Center, his advice was to stay away from the outside of the building today, just in case. Now, again, nobody has any indications of exactly what happened, but it appears that there has been some kind of, it felt like a small blast of some kind. Again, the windows shook, the building shook, the windows rattled, and people, if I'm looking out the window now, and the construction workers are still keeping a good, the construction workers are still keeping a distance. That's all I can see. And I see no other extracurricular security activity right outside. But to get more information, I'm going to have to break away and walk down the hallway and see what it is exactly that happened here just a few moments ago.
Mick, see what you can find out. Please be careful and let us know what's going on there. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to David Gregory, who is in Longboat Key, Florida, where President Bush was earlier this morning for an event on literacy. He was going to a school to talk with kids. David, what can you tell us?
A little bit more about how all of this unfolded and what the president is going to do next. The president declared this an apparent terrorist act. He offered a prayer for the families, promised to hunt down, in his words, the people responsible for this. He will now travel back to Washington, and aides are telling us now that he will immediately convene a national security meeting to see what steps are taken next.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're looking at live pictures of the Pentagon where there is billowing smoke. Jim Miklashevsky just reported that he heard an explosion, and right now we're looking at an aerial view of the Pentagon. Mick, can you talk to us?
Officially, nobody knows exactly what happened. I think the picture is pretty clear. According to one U.S. Army officer who went running past me at a full trot, he said that it appears that a bomb was detonated at the heliport. The heliport is a helicopter landing area right next to the Pentagon, just adjacent to the E-ring. The offices nearest the heliport area are U.S. Army, Reserve officers, and the Army Reserve our offices are located there. But as you can see, it appears to be a pretty significant blast. To give you some perspective, we are almost on the opposite side of the building, the world's largest office building. And as I reported to you, we could feel the building shake and the windows rattle. And as I was in the hallway just a few moments ago, I could smell an acrid kind of smoke, the kind of almost what you'd smell when a fluorescent light goes bad, that kind of ballast smell. And authorities are clearing the building.
U.S. intelligence sources are confirming the reports that one of the planes was a hijacked flight, an American flight from Boston to Los Angeles.
The deeper you clean, the cleaner you feel. Olay Deep Cleansers go beyond what the eye can see. They remove 2 times more dirt and makeup than basic cleansing for a deep, clean feeling. Deep Cleansers from Olay.
Presenting the Samsung LED TV. 240 hertz clarity. 1.2 inches slim.
The NFL. That's how I see it.
The Samsung LED TV. It's football in hyperreal.
The doctor came in. I was still waking up from anesthesia. He leaned over my bed and he said, "Laura, you have cancer." And he walked out of the room. The first thought is, what's going to happen to my children? I knew I was ready to fight this, and I just wanted this cancer out of me. I wanted to take care of it and move on. Then my mom called me. She had seen an ad on TV for Cancer Treatment Centers of America. It was just a tremendous experience from the minute that I walked in the door. Their bedside manner, it's just, you just can't even describe it. It takes a very special person to do what they're doing.
Hope is alive at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Call us now to have a real conversation about you and your treatment options. We'll send you this free DVD that shows you how this very special group of people put you at the center of everything they do.
I wanted to live to see my kids grow up. That's what gave me the drive to fight cancer. They supported that in me. They gave me choices. They made me realize that every life is worth saving. You can't fight cancer if you don't have hope.
September 20th, a town hall event about our children featuring Dr. Bill Cosby, presented by Michelle Bernard. September 20th on MSNBC.
I don't know if you can hear the sirens outside right now, but it appears that in what I think people here in the building are already describing as a highly sophisticated, coordinated attack, not only against the World Trade Center, but against the Pentagon and U.S. military right here in Washington.
Tell me again, I worked at the Pentagon as well, and it is a huge building. I mean, it's miles and miles of offices. At what location did this seem to have detonated?
It's at the heliport. The heliport, which is as you sit in the Pentagon, you have the Potomac River and Washington, D.C. on one side, and the heliport is located almost exactly on the opposite side of the building, along one of the highways. Easily accessible, even though that they've increased security here significantly at the Pentagon within the past couple of years.
Mick, that area. I want to mention to you, Mick, that we are hearing again unconfirmed reports that this was the result of a plane crashing in the area as well.
I have no idea, Katie. All I know is that people who were in the building who came running from that part of the building thought it was a bomb of some kind. According to Chris Brown, my colleague who just came in, it appears that whatever it was, and perhaps it was a plane, Katie, if those are the initial reports, crashed into, or the damage is on the roof of the building at the heliport side of the Pentagon, which is just opposite of the Potomac River, as I just said.
We're looking at the White House, Mick, because we are learning that there have been some evacuations from the White House. I'm assuming that everyone is being evacuated from the Pentagon?
Well, nobody's given us the official word yet, but I think that's probably a safe bet. Thank goodness that was a helicopter that just flew by. I'm just a little nervous right now when you hear aircraft go past. But they have, in fact, evacuated that portion of the building. Usually they have sirens that go off in the building alerting you to the fact that it's time to get out. I haven't heard those yet. But just judging by the pictures, it's clear that that part of the building that is not damaged, at least, has been evacuated. Like I said, in the hallway, it was pandemonium. People were rushing from their offices, rushing outside.
And you're in your office at the Pentagon right now, Mick, reporting to us?
I am in the office, but I'm at the opposite side of where this crash occurred.
All right. Why don't you see if you can gather some more information? Please, again, be careful, Mick, and we're going to go to Matt, who's going to be talking with Jamie Gangel.
All right, yeah. Katie, thank you very much. I'm joined by Tom Brokaw, and we'll try and recap what's been going on all morning here on the East Coast and in Washington, D.C. in just a few moments. But we do want to go right now to NBC's or today's national correspondent, Jamie Gangel, with some more information. Jamie?
Matt, I just want to tell you that U.S. intelligence sources are confirming the reports that one of the planes was a hijacked flight, an American flight from Boston to Los Angeles. They are also now looking into what's going on at the Pentagon. They don't have any details, but they have now put government buildings around the city of Washington on a heightened state of alert. I think part of that is happening formally, but obviously people are seeing what's going on, and some people are leaving buildings as well simply because of the concern following these latest reports from the Pentagon.
We have this as a major development. The Federal Aviation Administration has shut down all air traffic nationwide. This country has been immobilized by these terrorist attacks in terms of air travel today, and we don't know where it goes from here. We'll just ask that you stay with us so that as we get hard information, we can share that with you.
Hey, Jimmy Johnson here. If you're like me, you have computer problems. It runs slow, freezes up, it even gets viruses. And you might even think you need to buy a new one. Like this guy. Whoa, hold it.
Jimmy Johnson?
Don't trash that PC. A new computer could cost you $700 or more.
But Jimmy, it's so slow.
Your PC's just out of shape. And it's got a bad attitude. Spyware, viruses, junk files.
Spyware?
Exactly. You need someone that will tune up your PC for free. You need digitalsupport.com. Type it in up there. Digitalsupport.com is the only team I trust with my PC. They got my old PC running like new again. And digitalsupport.com can get your PC running fast again, guaranteed. Click that digitalsupport.com free offer. Not only will digitalsupport.com get your PC running fast again for free, you get the #1 best-selling computer tune-up software, installed and protecting over 21 million PCs, plus complete antivirus protection and access to your own personal tech support coach 24/7. They'll help you with your printers, smartphone, camera, MP3 players, all your digital stuff.
I tried one of those other companies, but my computer still ran slow.
I thought I'd have to buy a new computer. But DigitalSupport.com got my old one running like new again.
Look, other companies promise faster computers, but don't deliver. DigitalSupport.com guarantees to get your old or new PC running fast again. Log on to DigitalSupport.com now. You'll get a free scan and a real tune-up with the #1 computer tune-up software in the world. Plus access to their award-winning antivirus software, scheduled maintenance, and your own personal tech support coach. Hey, you want speed and performance? DigitalSupport.com can get your PC running fast again, guaranteed. Log on or call DigitalSupport.com. Hey, these guys are the real deal. Free, DigitalSupport.com.
If you like the convenience of online shopping, then you'll love Depot.com. Depot.com is your one-stop online shopping mall featuring millions of products delivered right to your door with just a few clicks. Get the latest in jewelry, electronics, computers, clothes, and more, all from the convenience of your home. Depot.com is the fast and easy way to save money on what you want and need. There's only one Depot you need for all your online shopping. Visit www.depot.com today.
Let's try and recap. It's 9:47 Eastern Time. Try and recap what's going on so far this morning, and the news is terrible. Just before 9 o'clock.
At 8:42, actually.
8:42, a plane crashed into the right-hand tower of the World Trade Center, somewhat about 3/4 of the way up. You can see the smoke billowing from that point of the building. And then about 18 or 20 minutes later, a second plane, a large plane, we saw it actually on tape, hit the left-hand tower of the World Trade Center about halfway up. An enormous fireball on several sides of the building. People trying to be evacuated. There's the tape of the second plane hitting right there, even as people were trying to get out of the first building. We have confirmed reports now that there was one plane hijacked, American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston to Los Angeles. and that is apparently one of the planes used in this crash, Katie.
Terrorism also always has two prongs to it, the physical threat and now the psychological threat. This does seem to be surreal, but in fact it is real when you have an explosion of undetermined origin at the Pentagon, the most conspicuous symbol of American capitalism, the Twin Trade Towers here in New York, two deliberate attacks on those towers today, and we do not know for sure who is responsible.
And the Capitol, by the way, the U.S. Capitol has been evacuated. There have been evacuations taking place at the White House. Needless to say, many people in the Pentagon have left that building as well.
And here, by the way, in this building in Midtown New York, they have asked a lot of people at 30 Rockefeller Plaza to leave. It's another high-rise Capitol building, which is in New York. I came down the length of Manhattan, and a lot of people were simply unaware of what had happened as you tuned in the radio, and then they began to get it. It's election day here in New York.
Primary day.
And what we have is something that most Americans thought could never occur. We have this as a major development. The Federal Aviation Administration has shut down all air traffic nationwide. This country has been immobilized by these terrorist attacks in terms of air travel today, and we don't know where it goes from here. We'll just ask that you stay with us so that as we get hard information, we can share that with you. There's going to be a lot of speculation. The president has described this apparently as a terrorist attack. The FBI has confirmed that an American Airlines flight, Boston to Los Angeles, was hijacked. It's believed that that was the first plane that went into the Twin Trade Towers.
Let's go to James Kallstrom, Tom, if we could, the former director of the FBI here in New York. Mr. Kallstrom, I'm sure you've never seen anything like this. Do you have any information that might be helpful to us?
Well, not particular information on this tragedy, but certainly what an incredible tragedy. And, you know, all of us in law enforcement and prior in law enforcement have talked for years, and the public has seen the hatred in the world. They've seen the bombing of the World Trade Center. They saw the conspiracy to blow up the tunnels in the United Nations and the FBI building back in the 90s. They've seen the bomb at the USS Cole and the bombings of our embassies in Africa. So, I mean, we've known for some time now that this hatred exists. And now it looks like that it's culminated in this absolutely horrendous, incredible act.
Jim, if you can stand by for just a moment, because Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon has some more information for us. Mick?
Katie, my colleague Chris Brown here at the Pentagon encountered some of those who survived, whatever it was, whether it was a bomb or an airplane crashing into the Pentagon. One of the survivors who was reportedly injured, had various lacerations, was on the second floor of the D ring. That is one ring inside the outer ring of the Pentagon, when suddenly there was this horrific blast, and he said that the second floor buckled upward, and then the third floor above him actually collapsed downward. The scene on the other side of the building, as it's being described to us, there are people being removed on stretchers. Security forces are evacuating the building right now, and according to the officials here at the Pentagon, they still don't know exactly what it was, but as you reported, Katie, eyewitnesses reported that in fact it was a plane that crashed into the Pentagon.
And Mick, any idea, I wasn't quite sure if you said this, about the number of people who might have been hurt or worse in this?
No idea at all, Katie. As you know, having worked here on any given day, this is a small city, 25 to 30,000 people may be working here at any one time. That portion of the Pentagon, by the way, had just been remodeled and just reopened. If the crash had occurred just a few months ago, that section of the Pentagon would have been virtually empty. But at this time of day, early morning or mid-morning, the Pentagon's very busy. It's impossible to say how many casualties there may be. But there have been a large number of people cited being removed on stretchers. And again, as one survivor said, the floor just buckled up under him, and the roof caved in on him.
All right, Mick, thank you very much. We want to move a couple of miles away from you right now to the White House, where Bob Kerr is standing by. And Bob, we understand that building has now been evacuated?
Matt, that's true. It is utterly surreal. As soon as word came of the Pentagon incident, we were rather forcefully removed from the White House. The scene was one of administrators, cooks, whatever, running at fairly high speed all the way out of the building through the top gates. Then we huddled for a while in Lafayette Park across the street, and we've been moved now from there a block or so away. The offices along Jackson Place, which are across the street from the White House and adjacent to Lafayette Park, also have been evacuated. And in the most surreal of this morning's scenes here at the White House, a white plane, a very big jet, was flying an unusual pattern near the White House over Lafayette Park very slowly. It made one circle, and then we have not seen it since. There was a lot of concern about what that plane might be, but again, it's only speculation, but most people say that since flights have been cleared from U.S. airspace and it was a totally white plane, looked unusual to all of us, that it was a government plane of some kind.
We should point out that we're looking at pictures, Bob, as you speak, of the World Trade Center, because all of the camera crews have been evacuated from the White House as well. When do you expect President Bush to arrive there, Bob?
Well, Katie, he's coming back directly, and you figure it's about a 2-hour flight, so you can do the math. The reason I said that it was so surreal was that within just about 20 minutes ago, they were still conducting tours. You had hordes of tourists and others still in the White House on tour, lining up outside to get in. There seemed to be absolutely no unusual activity outside the White House until word came of the incident at the Pentagon. So it's been quite a dramatic shift here.
And we just saw a live picture of what seemed to be a portion of the building falling away from the World Trade Center.
More cash over here.
It's much easier to find money at Esurance. Great auto insurance rates and lots of discounts.
Got insurance already? Save more with Esurance's Switch and Save discount.
It also pays to shop online. You get Esurance's Fast 5 discount just for getting an instant online quote.
Thanks, Professor.
Don't forget the good student discount.
And there's even more discounts.
It's no secret that you can save hundreds with Esurance.
Make it your mission to click or call Esurance today.
How am I supposed to stay on this diet program when the food they send me is awful?
It's awful.
Seriously, doesn't anyone
make home-delivered diet food
that isn't dehydrated, freeze-dried,
and tasteless?
Yes, and you're gonna love it. Introducing eDiet's fresh prepared meal delivery. Freshly prepared, ready-to-eat, delicious meals delivered directly from our kitchen to you.
Somebody who hadn't seen me for a year came back, and his words were, "You lost weight." And I was just like, "Thanks for noticing."
Look, to lose weight with any diet, you have to like the food. Otherwise, you won't stick with it. At eDiets, you'll love our food. Our meals are not dehydrated, powdered, or freeze-dried. They're freshly prepared and shipped cooler packed to your door.
With eDiet's home delivery, all you have to do to lose weight is eat food. Really good food. How easy is that?
Call eDiets right now to get 1 week free of delicious food. That's 21 fresh prepared meals. Discover why Epicurious.com rated eDiet's meal delivery #1 in taste and nutrition. With eDiets, you'll save money because unlike those other plans, there's no need to buy tons of extra groceries to complete your meals. But it's not just about the food. At eDiets, you'll get all the support of certified and registered dietitians, personal trainers, and 24/7 access to a community of friends to help you achieve success.
eDiets is a diet that you'll never want to quit.
eDiets is very easy. You just go online, point, click, and lose weight.
Go online or call eDiets right now and get 1 week of delicious home-delivered meals free. With eDiet's fresh prepared meal delivery, you get delicious food with no hidden fees or long-term contracts. Plus, eDiets gives you the freedom to choose a plan that's right for you with unlimited online support from our expert registered dietitians to ensure your success. At eDiets, you'll love losing weight, eating incredibly delicious food. Visit eDiets.com or call to place your order now.
I'm Dr. Nancy Snyderman. This is MSNBC.
This is a task for investigators of extraordinary magnitude to try to determine who did this and how they got away with it. You think about an American Airlines flight that was on its way from Boston to Los Angeles, was hijacked in midair. They're now citing transmissions from the plane, so they have hard evidence of that, and then brought down here and made to fly into the Twin Trade Towers. Did one of the hijackers get control? Did they shoot the pilot? It boggles the mind beyond our ability to figure out what was going on.
You talk about transmissions. I was just curious. Have you had any evidence of what was said during those
They're just saying they're
transmissions?
citing transmission to know that the plane had been hijacked. That's all that they're saying about it at this point. We also ought to remind everyone, once again, this is an exceptional development. The FAA has banned all takeoffs at all airports across America. This country, in terms of air travel, has been immobilized. A good portion of the nation's capital, the most powerful center in the world, has been immobilized as well.
We just saw a live picture of what seemed to be a portion of the building falling away from the World Trade Center. If we can re-rack that to about 20 seconds ago, you'll see something dramatic happening. And I don't know whether it's another explosion or a portion of the building falling away, but something major just happened at that building. Here we go to the tape.
We have the tape.
And watch what happens in the left-hand tower. I don't know if this is the correct tape. There, something there is about to happen, falling away right there.
Yeah, it looks like a big chunk of it has just peeled away.
One can only hope that the area has been evacuated, but of course you wonder about all the emergency vehicles and the people who might have been injured early in the morning. These pictures are beyond belief.
We have a report that the second plane may have flown out of Newark, New Jersey. This is an official who was speaking on the condition of anonymity. Again, there is no confirmation of that. We just know that there were two planes that went in. The first one apparently was an American Airlines flight that was from Boston to Los Angeles. We're now seeing it from the harbor view of this continuing damage and destruction to the World Trade Center. We want to tell you that American Airlines has confirmed that one of its flights, American Airlines flight number 11 from Boston's Logan Airport, scheduled to go to LAX. It left at 8 a.m. this morning. 45 minutes later, it was diverted into the World Trade Center.
Let's go back to a few seconds ago. This is now about an hour after the first impact. We saw some dramatic footage of a portion of one of the Twin Towers, actually it appearing to fall away from the rest of the building. Can we go to the tape now? Here we go, right here. This is, I mean, when you look at it, the building has collapsed. That tower just came down.
Well, the consequences go on, not just to the World Trade Center and to the poor people who were trapped and caught there, but of course that is the heart of the world financial markets, which have now been shut down effectively as well. So the ripple effect continues this morning as we all try to adjust psychologically and intellectually to what we are witnessing here. It is difficult to comprehend, but this country, the strongest country in the world, has been the target of a major coordinated terrorist attack, and the end is not over yet, even if it's confined to just these three targets. The ripple effect goes on.
And of course, who knows the human toll that will be the result of this action. Matt actually just pointed out to me on any given day, 50,000 people, Tom, work at the World Trade Center.
And at 8:45 in the morning, if they're not in the building, they're around the building. That's a beehive of activity down there. There is no more active area in terms of pedestrian traffic.
Minna Kathuria is with the Today Show, and she apparently saw the collapse of one of those towers. Minna?
Yes, hi, Matt.
Tell me what you saw.
Well, on the corner of Duane and West Broadway, walking down towards the Twin Towers, and it just collapsed. It looked like it looked sort of like the building just demolished. Smoke, clouds, clouds of smoke everywhere. People running towards me. I was going towards the Twin Towers. People were going away from the towers, and it was just people running like I've never seen a scene like it.
Can you just give me an idea of the reaction of people down there, Minna? Just pedestrians?
That's everyone in tears. People who were. I met some woman who was in the building to the right of where the first thing happened, and just all crying, wondering if the people that they know in the buildings next door are okay.
Minna, take care of yourself. Jamie Gangel, our national correspondent, is on the phone now with some more information. Jamie?
Katie, as you well know, buildings around town are being evacuated. The State Department has been evacuated. The White House has been evacuated. And the Pentagon has been evacuated. Intelligence officials tell me that they do believe at the Pentagon that that was a third plane going down. They have had, the intelligence sources that I've talked to say that they have not received any claim of responsibility yet.
Jamie, have you gotten any information from Reagan National Airport as to air traffic in the area this morning, or anybody who might have somehow traced this plane or figured out from where it came or where it was going?
They still do not have any of those details yet. It is almost impossible. They were confused for a long time as to whether it's a bomb or a plane. They say now that it appears to be a plane, but they say that that is all the information that they have.
All right, Jamie. Thank you very much, Jamie. We'll be talking with you.
It goes without saying this is the most serious attack in the United States in more than 100 years. Not since the War of 1812, and certainly the damage that we did to ourselves during the Civil War has this country suffered this kind of damage within its interior. Obviously, Pearl Harbor, which triggered World War II, was a horrific event as well. But there has never been an event to match the magnitude of this one, in which everything has been shut down in terms of air traffic. The national capital has been immobilized. The White House, State Department, Pentagon has been attacked. The financial markets have been shut down. There's an untold loss of life.
The other tower of the World Trade Center has just collapsed. That, I believe, was the first tower that was struck this morning at 8:42 Eastern Time.
Woo! You are hot! Check this out. 60, 50,
38, 34.
That is not our ages, it's the weight we've lost, right?
I'm Tina. I've lost 38 pounds on Nutrisystem.
I'm Julie, and I lost 34 pounds on Nutrisystem.
I'm Karen, and I lost 60 pounds on Nutrisystem.
If you haven't tried Nutrisystem recently, you've got to try all the fantastic new meals. Lasagna, pizza, even ice cream delivered right to your door, free.
You can have your carbs, and you can have this great food that tastes good for you, and it works.
Nutrisystem is based on the proven science of the glycemic index. Low glycemic meals that keep you feeling fuller longer, so you burn more calories more consistently.
It is so easy. This program cannot fail.
People notice now, they like double take for a second, like, whoa, hello, I never thought I would look like this again, ever, ever, ever. And then now, hello, darling.
For a limited time, only this summer, get an extra 3 weeks of meals free.
I saved money when I went on Nutrisystem. Are you kidding?
As low as $11 a day. You'll save hundreds over other weight loss programs.
It was a savings because we weren't doing takeout all the time. So reinvest the money with Nutrisystem and you will lose the weight.
We don't have to count, we don't have to measure, we don't have to weigh in. Who wants to deal with that? And Nutrisystem is here to help with round-the-clock support, so you're never alone.
Anyone can do this. I'm not a model. I'm not any of that. I'm just a mother that did something amazing for herself.
That's right. You get an extra 21 breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and desserts. That's 84 meals free, just for starting today.
I'm Marie Osmond, and I've lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
We're hot moms!
Woo! Thanks, Nutrisystem. Yeah, we love it.
Order now and get an extra 3 weeks of fantastic meals. That's right, 84 meals absolutely free.
This offer ends soon, so call or click right now.
Is your credit card debt out of control? Are you in over your head dealing with monthly payments? There's a powerful secret that credit card companies don't want you to know. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, you have the right to settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe, cutting your payments by up to half. That's bad news for the credit card companies, but great news for you. We're Credit Answers, and we'd like to offer you free information that'll show you how to settle your credit card debt and lower your monthly payments.
We got behind on our payments, and before you know it, interest rates went through the roof. With all the fees they charged us, it was impossible to catch up. Credit Answers gave us a solution we could live with.
Don't declare bankruptcy. Give us 10 minutes and we could save you thousands. Live better, debt-free. Find out how by calling for this valuable free information.
Call 1-800-792-1534. That's 1-800-792-1534.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Cleflin. Here's what's happening. The Chinese government is denouncing a decision by President Obama to impose stiff tariffs on car tires imported from China. China calls that move protectionist. It says it violates rules laid down by the World Trade Organization. Low-hanging clouds over Manhattan made for an especially moving tribute in the skies above Ground Zero. 2 beams are lit every year, honoring the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Now let's go back to 9/11 as it happened.
It's 7:15 in the west, obviously, but for those of you who are just joining us at 8:45 Eastern Time, 8:42 Eastern Time today, an American Airlines flight 11 from Boston to LAX was crashed into one of the World Trade Center buildings. 15 minutes later, another plane hit the other one. That building has now collapsed. Within an hour of those 2 attacks, the Pentagon was hit, now we're told, by a plane, an untold number of casualties there. President Bush has been on the air. He was in Florida at the time saying apparently this was a terrorist attack. Everyone now believes that, carefully coordinated from the air, and the consequences of it in terms of human loss and the effect on this country are still to be determined. Katie, what we're worried about now is that the other building may come down. They've obviously evacuated that whole area as a result of the crash of one World Trade Center. Now I'm told that there's concern about the second one collapsing as well. We're told now that a spokesman for Yasser Arafat, the leader of the Palestinian, the leader of the PLA, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, that that Arafat has condemned what has happened here in New York. He says that the PLO has no role in it whatsoever. They're completely shocked and appalled by what is happening. There was just one earlier report that the Radical Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine claimed responsibility, but that was later denied as well. We don't know yet who is in fact responsible for this, but it was very carefully planned and coordinated, and fair to say it has been a devastatingly efficient and effective attack on the heart of this country.
Let's go to Pat Dawson, who is down by the World Trade Center.
There are probably at this stage, I would say, hundreds, perhaps in the thousands of emergency workers who in the last hour and a half have managed to work their way down here to lower Manhattan and basically try to get into this fray. We are standing right here about 10 to 12 blocks north of the World Trade Center. These firemen that you can see, firefighters are walking down towards the site now, and they literally have been arriving by the dozens over the past hour or so. As we say, probably in excess of 1,000 or more emergency workers from New York City and surrounding areas converging on this site now to try to make some sense of it. As you can imagine, at this point, there is a certain level of chaos because they're just trying to sort out who's alive, who's not. When I asked one of them why he was going back in as he suited up since he could barely breathe, he said, "It's my job," and there may be some of my brother officers in there. As you can see from these pictures, the amount of dust from the fire that's still burning, flames and ash, is extraordinary at this point. And at least a few emergency workers have said that they really aren't so sure that other tower won't stay up now. They really didn't think the first one was capable of coming down, but it did. And so they're basically saying, keep back as far as you can. On the other hand, facing that danger, as we have been telling you, many, many hundreds of these workers are heading over those lines down towards that burning building to try to rescue those people who are in there, be they emergency workers, be they civilians.
We'll go to Mick. Mick, what is the latest from the Pentagon?
Katie, security officials here at the Pentagon have not only evacuated the building, but they're clearing the entire area. Security forces have reported that they have received information of another plane hijacking, that it's about 20 to 25 miles out of Washington, D.C., headed in this general direction. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld a few moments ago was refusing to leave the building. There's no confirmation of this latest threat, but security officials here are taking it very seriously. We were standing with Secretary Rumsfeld's security detail, who, as soon as they got the report, went running into the building, and we were herded away. But they have set up an alternative command site somewhere in the area. The Pentagon has set up a crisis team to deal with this situation. But so far, the latest reports are that another plane of some kind may have been hijacked and headed in this direction. Katie?
Yeah, we also should tell you, Mick, this is Tom Brokaw, that the FAA now says that all international flights headed for the United States are being diverted to Canada. This at a time when, as Jim Mikolashevsky is telling us, there's an unconfirmed report that there's been another hijacking. All takeoffs were stopped, but there were planes in the air, obviously, at the time of these first two attacks on the Twin Trade Towers and then on the Pentagon.
Let's look at these live pictures at the World Trade Center. The other tower of the World Trade Center has just collapsed. You are looking at live pictures of the second Twin Tower at the World Trade Center collapsing as a result of the crash of an airplane into its side. That, I believe, was the first tower that was struck this morning at 8:42 Eastern Time.
You're not there.
It is now, fallen to the ground and
The profile
collapsed.
of Manhattan has been changed. There's been a declaration of war by terrorists on the United States. More than 100 stories of steel, concrete, electrical. Here it is. That's a videotape replay.
And many of the emergency workers basically just happy to be alive. Certainly that picture tells it all.
Have you ever thought about how much of your life is on your computer? Photos, documents, financial records. How would you feel if you lost all that stuff? You know it happens all the time. Well, with Carbonite, you won't have to worry. Carbonite Online Backup automatically backs up your files off-site, and they're encrypted to protect your privacy. It's secure and simple. The New York Times calls Carbonite the easiest online backup software to use. In fact, to not use, since it's completely automatic. And the Wall Street Journal says Carbonite helps you sleep better at night.
For just $55 a year, Carbonite automatically backs up your computer files off-site, and everything is encrypted to protect your privacy. Try it risk-free with offer code TV at Carbonite.com.
The experts at PC World called Carbonite Online Backup done well. You set it up once, and after that, it just works. Not my words, theirs.
Because your life is on your computer, there's Carbonite, the way backup is done.
Hey, Jimmy Johnson here. If you're like me, you have computer problems. It runs slow, freezes up, it even gets viruses. And you might even think you need to buy a new one. Like this guy. Whoa, hold it.
Jimmy Johnson?
Don't trash that PC. A new computer could cost you $700 or more.
But Jimmy, it's so slow.
Your PC's just out of shape. And it's got a bad attitude. Spyware, viruses, junk files.
Spyware?
Exactly. You need someone that will tune up your PC for free. You need DigitalSupport.com. Type it in up there. DigitalSupport.com is the only team I trust with my PC. They got my old PC running like new again. And DigitalSupport.com can get your PC running fast again, guaranteed. Click that DigitalSupport.com free offer. Not only will DigitalSupport.com get your PC running fast again for free, you get the #1 best-selling computer tune-up software, installed and protecting over 21 million PCs, plus complete antivirus protection and access to your own personal tech support coach 24/7. They'll help you with your printers, smartphone, camera, MP3 players, all your digital stuff.
I tried one of those other companies, but my computer still ran slow.
I thought I'd have to buy a new computer. But DigitalSupport.com got my old one running like new again.
Look, other companies promise faster computers, but don't deliver. DigitalSupport.com guarantees to get your old or new PC running fast again. Log on to DigitalSupport.com now. You'll get a free scan, a real tune-up with the #1 computer tune-up software in the world. Plus access to their award-winning antivirus software, scheduled maintenance, and your own personal tech support coach. Hey, you want speed and performance? DigitalSupport.com can get your PC running fast again, guaranteed. Log on or call digitalsupport.com. Hey, these guys are the real deal. Free, digitalsupport.com.
The PGA Tour playoffs have a new leader.
Steve Stricker sits atop the FedEx Cup points list.
Now, Tiger has one goal: reclaim the top spot. The PGA Tour playoffs for the FedEx Cup continues with the BMW Championship, Saturday 3 Eastern, only on NBC.
We are back at 10:30 Eastern Time on this Tuesday morning, this horrific, incredible, not to be believed Tuesday morning. You are looking at live pictures of the World Trade Center where just a few minutes ago, within the last minute actually, the second Twin Tower collapsed.
This is a declaration and an execution of an attack on the United States. Two of our most conspicuous symbols of the American system of capitalism. The Pentagon, which of course is the headquarters of the most mighty military in the world, was attacked today as well. The White House has been evacuated. The State Department has been evacuated. Financial markets have been immobilized. All flights taking off after these attacks were grounded.
International flights have been sent to Canada.
It turns out it's transatlantic flights only going to Canada now. So there has been great chaos visited upon this country, to say nothing, as you pointed out, Matt, so importantly, of the still untold loss of life. And it's going to be horrendous. We don't know yet what the exact numbers are, but we can only tell you by looking at those pictures that you can guess as well as that we can, that there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to be able to escape that.
Back in 1993, when the bomb blew up in the basement of the World Trade Center, so many survivors talked about how long it took them, with no power in the elevators, to walk down the smoke-filled stairways. And you think about how many people were still trying to escape those buildings when first one and then the second tower collapsed.
There's a picture of Lower Manhattan, ladies and gentlemen, the most important city in the world in so many ways. And now it has been attacked by terrorists at the World Trade Center, and the damage is beyond our ability to tell you in great detail.
Let's go to Pat Dawson if he can hear us. He is on the ground.
Quite extraordinary. These are the emergency workers who are coming back. It was just about 10 minutes ago that we described to you the possibility of that North Tower collapsing. About 5 minutes after we went off the air, it did collapse. Once again, we have no idea at this point the loss of life. I can only tell you there were hundreds of emergency workers down there, about 5 or 6 blocks. It took probably about, I would say, no more than 50 or 60 seconds for that dust cloud, dust and smoke, to literally make it the 5 or 6 blocks up here and begin to envelop us, at which point we started to move out of the way. There were literally dozens and dozens of firemen who were trying to run past us. In fact, our cameraman even put one of the captains in his car and drove him down to a command post. The people who you see here are pretty much all emergency workers. Many of them that I have seen in the last 2 to 3 minutes, quite frankly, are coming out of here. And remember this, these are professionals. They're coming out of there looking literally stunned, in shock, many of them, struggling for breath, obviously in serious distress. Breathing problems are the biggest problem for those who manage to make it safely out of that area down below us. You can't see much more than a block south of me right now. And the World Trade Center probably stands about 10 blocks south of where I am at this moment. And as you can see now, the dust is beginning to pick up here. It really depends on which way the wind blows as to whether or not we get heavy dust or not. But at this point, I can tell you that in the first few minutes, emergency workers were trying just basically to get out of there, to survive. You could see that written in their faces. The situation was so desperate, they just wanted to get out of there. Now, many of them are beginning to regroup. A couple of them asked me where their commander might be. They're trying to get together and go back in there and try to take care of the people who obviously are in serious trouble. There's no other way to describe it. The language here, at times, if I slip into language which seems a little melodramatic, forgive me, but this is a circumstance which is very, very difficult to describe in many ways without sounding melodramatic. Certainly in more than 20 years of covering horrific events, this is something that I've never seen before. And many of the emergency workers basically just happy to be alive. Certainly that picture tells it all. Many of them just happy to be alive at this point.
That was NBC's Pat Dawson. Again, he's standing about 10 blocks from where the World Trade Center towers used to stand You're looking at the collapse of one of those towers right now. We now have an AP News alert out of Pittsburgh. Officials at Somerset County Airport are confirming the crash of a large plane just north of the airport. That's about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. Again, officials at Somerset County Airport confirm the crash of a large plane north of that airport, which is located about 80 miles to the southeast of the city of Pittsburgh. We do not know whether that crash of that plane is related to what has become an obvious terrorist attack both here in New York City and in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon.
We want to go to Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon, who has some more information. Mick?
Katie, they're still clearing people away from the Pentagon. Still, security forces believe that there may be another incoming plane headed in the Washington region. But there was a very telling, dramatic moment just a second ago when a U.S. Air Force F-16 flew very low level, did a wide sweeping turn around the Pentagon and back over Washington. And as one Air Force officer standing near me said, "My God, they're now flying air cover over Washington." A very dramatic moment, a milestone in what Tom has already described as a declaration of war, terrorist war against the U.S. Katie?
Let's go back and show you the pictures of Lower Manhattan, where the situation only gets worse, not better. That is the financial district of the world. It's also a residential area and a great commercial area. Both Twin Trade Tower buildings now have collapsed onto the ground. There is an untold loss of life. Some heroic rescue workers were down there trying to get people out of the building when the first building came down, and then the second building did as well. Without any sound, and looking at this, there is a kind of a surreal quality. But that is the epicenter of a great, great national tragedy and a great loss of life. No question about it this morning. It is hard to overstate the consequences of all of this, and this is just the beginning. We'll be living with this story and dealing with the consequences of it for some time. The United States will change as a result of all of this. We already thought that there was a lot of security in America at the airports and so on, and yet there was a successful hijacking at Boston Airport today, and the consequences of that we're seeing on the screen here this morning.
The building began to disintegrate, and we heard it and looked up and started to see elements of the building come down, and we ran, and honestly it was like a scene out of Independence Day.
Cancer can be daunting. You're not sure what to do, but you must do something. And so you call us. And it begins. It begins without computer prompts or voice menus. Just an actual person asking, "How can I help you?" It begins with a packet of information from Cancer Treatment Centers of America that answers questions, that eases fears, that shares the stories of patients who are winning the fight. And you decide to learn more. Then you visit one of our hospitals, and our driver meets you at the airport and takes you straight to our door. This place is different. You can feel it. There's a unique level of compassion, a unique sense of community. There's a spirit that says you have cancer. Cancer does not have you. Because here the commitment we make is a commitment for life. You see it in your care team. Cancer experts who build a custom treatment plan around you. You see it in your treatments, a combination of cutting-edge oncology and support therapies not found anywhere else. You see it in your fellow patients. Some have traveled across state lines, some from across the globe, all to be part of this unique care experience. This is quality care founded on your quality of life, keeping you strong, body, mind, and spirit. This is a network of cancer hospitals unlike any other. This is care that never quits. Call, and together we'll begin. Call or go online to get this free informational DVD kit showing how Cancer Treatment Centers of America has been fighting complex and advanced cancer for decades with care that never quits.
Science has shown us that there is a direct link between what is happening in the environment and how that affects our health. Healthy Child is there to be an educator that has children's best interest in mind.
Visit us at healthychild.org.
Living with diabetes is the pits. When I was diagnosed, my mom couldn't stop crying.
Children and adults with type 1 diabetes will never outgrow it.
But imagine a cure.
Help us turn research to reality.
We have a report here that Osama bin Laden, who is often identified as the world's leading terrorist, warned 3 weeks ago that he and his followers would carry out an unprecedented attack on U.S. interest for its support of Israel, an Arab journalist with access said to him Tuesday in London.
Abdel Bari Atwan, editor of the London-based Al-Qud Al-Arabi newspaper, said Islamic fundamentalists led by bin Laden was almost certainly behind the attack of the World Trade Center in New York. Quote, it's most likely the work of Islamic fundamentalists. Osama bin Laden warned 3 weeks ago that he would attack American interest in an unprecedented attack, a very big one, Atwan told Reuters.
He has interviewed bin Laden, and he maintains close contact with his followers, according to Reuters. So that's the first report that we've had that Osama bin Laden may have been responsible. Well, now we get word from American Airlines, Bob, just stay with us here for a moment, that it had 2 aircraft in this tragedy. Flight 11, a Boeing 767 with 81 passengers and 9 flight attendants and 2 pilots. Flight 77, they're saying, a Boeing 757 operating from Washington Dulles to L.A. with 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. That's from Al Henkel, who's one of our guys in the Dallas area, from American Airlines.
Yes, so now we know the identity of 2 of the flights involved in today's incidents. That leaves at least 1 more, and if the report of the crash in Pittsburgh is accurate, that leaves 2 more.
Here's the first confirmation from United Airlines. It's confirmed one of its flights crashed in the Pittsburgh area. Flight 93, a Boeing 757, a flight involved originating in Newark. It was bound for San Francisco. No information on how many people were on board. You know, there was a collapse, obviously, not just of intelligence, but of airport security as well, that many planes were hijacked almost simultaneously.
We're going to go to Bob Bazell, who is at St. Vincent's Hospital. Obviously, we're very concerned about the people who were in the World Trade Center when these 2 planes crashed into them. Bob, tell me about the scene at St. Vincent's Hospital.
Katie, the wounded are starting to come in with great regularity now. Almost every 30 seconds an ambulance pulls up. Some of them are very badly burned. Some are dead. I've seen several dead bodies go in. Cardinal Egan, the head of the Catholic Archdiocese, is standing out on the street giving last rites. Said, may God help us many times over. There's been a call out for blood from all the New York hospitals. People are lined up around the block. People have responded in enormous numbers to that. Everybody seems to want to help in some way. New York has become kind of surrealistic on the streets above Lower Manhattan because all the subways and commuter lines and bridges and tunnels have been shut down. So many people who are not injured are wandering around aimlessly. But in the hospitals, there's so many injured coming in now that they don't have run out of gurneys, and they brought every office chair that they have down and put sheets over that to carry people in. It's an enormous amount of work for all the staff. People have come in. Everybody who was off has been come in. Calls have gone out for specialists, for plastic surgeons, for burn specialists, and it's going to be a very grueling several days ahead.
Ron Insana is here with us in the studio. Ron, obviously you were downtown at some point because we see you have basically soot and debris in your hair and on your jacket. What happened?
Well, one of the MSNBC cameramen and I were trying to get across the street, having driven down to try to cover the event, obviously for NBC. And as we were going across the street, we were not terribly far from the World Trade Center building, the South Tower. As we were cutting across in a quarantine zone, actually, the building began to disintegrate, and we heard it and looked up and started to see elements of the building come down, and we ran, and honestly it was like a scene out of Independence Day. Everything began to rain down. It was pitch black around us as the winds were whipping through the corridors in Lower Manhattan. I ducked around a corner, got into a car which was open, and it was nighttime for several minutes before things cleared up.
Was this the first tower that collapsed?
I believe it was the first tower that collapsed. This was the South Tower, and as it was coming down, What that looks like there is mild compared to what it was like to be at the center. It was pitch black for blocks.
And was it smoke as well as dust?
It was smoke, it was dust. I assume it was part of the building coming down, and just pieces of a disintegrating building coming down as well.
Once it did begin to clear after that several minutes of pitch darkness, what did you see in the streets then?
It was a very deep gray smoke. It was, in honesty, looked like a bit of a nuclear winter, the type of thing you see in the movies with ash all over the ground, on top of cars, on police cars, on windows. I made my way into a building because it was the one light I could see, and stayed there until a couple of police officers and a few of the people inside the building were able to get into a vehicle. We picked up a few injured people along the way and dropped them off at the hospital.
You did. What were their injuries?
Well, one policeman had a deep gash in his forehead. He was all right. He was clearly a bit shocked, and the young lady had shrapnel in her arm. Don't know what it was, whether it was part of a building or glass from another building. It was truly the most intense and frightening experience I've ever had in my life. It was literally pitch black on the street, and people were, obviously inhaling a great deal of this material as well. So there are many folks who are having difficulty breathing and were wearing facial masks as well.
Oh, we're happy you're all right.
We have United Airlines confirms that United Flight 175 from Boston to Los Angeles is down as well. No details yet. It's confirmed that Flight 93, we believe from Newark to San Francisco, is down. No details as yet. That's the one that we think went down in the Pittsburgh area. I wish that we could be more specific. The information is, as you might expect, pretty chaotic, but there have been at least 4 airliners that have been hijacked today.
And Tom, there's going to be an awful lot of scrutiny on the security in Boston at Logan Airport, because it now appears that 2 of these flights originated there, and somehow someone managed to get on these planes and hijack them.
Well, this is an event, Ron. We're happy to see you, and
thank you. You have no idea how happy I am to be here.
Yeah, it is a relief. But then you think about the experiences of thousands of other people who are down there in the epicenter of all that, and were there when it occurred. Our hearts go out to them. We don't know what the numbers are yet.
When you hear about Cardinal Egan delivering last rites outside of St. Vincent's Hospital.
And the magnitude of this will go on for some time. This is not just a national tragedy, but this is a national security event of an untold magnitude that this country is going to have to deal with. The president's coming back, and we are at war, in effect, here. This country has suffered a devastating attack that will cost us in the sense of in loss of life. It will also cost us in terms of our psychological security that we have in this country. We're going to have to revisit a lot of our freedoms as a result of this kind of an attack. And then, of course, there's the whole question of retaliation. This place remains an enormous target in the eyes of a lot of people, and we are so vulnerable because of all those things that make us so great, our freedoms and our sense of security that we have. But America has been changed today by all of this.
Due to mature subject matter, viewer discretion is advised. There are 2 million people behind bars in America. We open the gates, lock up.
This place is infested with child molesters, rapists, and murderers.
You happen to be in the most beautiful place in the world, as a matter of fact. This place should be a resort instead of a prison.
You are surrounded, you're trapped in more than one way.
I'm always training myself physically and psychologically to be ready to combat these officers.
If the guy comes up here all belligerent, that's what he's going to get back. And if he wants to dance, we'll dance.
You think you're a badass? No, not at all. Well, don't cop an attitude. I'm not copping an attitude. Take it more punk.
Sex in prison, it's supposed to be a no-no, but it happens.
I want a guy that wants me to be feminine and all the things that he should normally want to get if he's with a woman.
There's only been one murder in this prison that's been in this mod. It was in cell 13 downstairs.
He's bragging about that. I killed mommy, and I'm getting out in 20 years, blah, blah, blah. I tore up the sheet, and I wrapped it around his head, and I said, go say hi to mommy.
When people think of Alaska, they often picture a place of extraordinary beauty, a vast expanse of wilderness considered to be the last frontier. But for many, this beauty comes with a price, the loss of freedom. In the next hour of Lockup, we go inside Spring Creek, Alaska's only maximum security prison.
A little more than 100 miles south of Anchorage is Seward, one of Alaska's oldest towns. It is surrounded by water and the majestic Kenai Fjords. But in the middle of the scenic beauty is a correctional facility that houses the state's most violent offenders.
I'm a pimp on the streets, you know what I'm saying? And me and my girl, you know, she didn't come back with the money on time, so, you know, she got smashed.
I was robbing a hotel in Kenai, Alaska, and ended up getting in a fight with two people. I ended up hitting one of them with a hammer a lot.
They were like, what's going on? You know, why are you killing me? And I didn't say nothing to them or talk about it to them. I just did it, you know, and threw them into the bay.
500 inmates are housed on 328 acres of land, which is surrounded by national parks. Alaska is the nation's largest state, but it has the smallest prison population.
Alaska is a state that is people have immigrated from all over the country, and criminals don't change their ways when they move.
Guys have a real hurdle getting over this problem.
Jeff, it's just the way we're built. We have a problem like this. We throw up walls that are so high, so hard to get through, but it's just as simple as trying a Postivac system.
What's the success rate of Postivac system?
Medical studies show that as high as 89 to 100% successful.
Very impressive, Ed. And the FDA approved for marketing. These kind of accolades really do give serious credibility to the Postivac system.
Jeff, these are so safe that they're now available but without a prescription. If you live long enough, every man is going to need this, a Postivac system.
Joe, what made you willing to step out like this and talk about Postivac?
Because I truly believe in it. When I tried it, it performed the way I wanted it to perform. And I got my self-esteem back in a major way. I strongly, strongly believe in it.
You know, Jeff, there's billions with a B of couples in the world that are suffering from ED, and they don't need to. Postivac's the solution.
Joe, let me get back to you. Did you find that Postivac is easy to use?
Yes, it's that easy, and it's just to get started. Once a person gets started, everything happens. Self-esteem comes back. Machoism within yourself comes back. And
self-confidence?
Self-confidence comes back. And
the kid is back.
The kid is back. And you're willing to tell others and proud of it.
And it lasts for a very long time.
It lasts a very long time, yes.
Ed, is it really as easy as 4 minutes, a firm erection, it lasts for 30 minutes, and that's all there is to it?
It's that easy, and it works every time, and it's safe.
Well, what's the old saying? If you don't use it, you lose it. Well, if you don't exercise it, then what good is it? You know, and if you can't satisfy your partner, whether you're married, single, whatever, you know, why take the best part of life out of your life when you can have life with Postivac?
I know the statistics. 1 out of 3 men are going to experience a prostate issue in their lifetime, but I was ready to face that at about 75, 80 years old. Certainly not at 47, 48 years old. So I don't think I could have done as well as I did without you. That was very, very helpful in my recovery, and so thank you for being there.
It really makes me feel great that I've developed and marketed a product that has really modified and changed people's lives and built their self-esteem up, not just the man's but the woman's. It's really incredible. It's kind of like I'm on a mission to really help a lot of people. All of a sudden, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I faced the issue that a lot of men that are our customers that I've talked with for years have faced. You know, I was faced with, what do I do about this, you know, this cancer issue? So I bit the bullet and I had my prostate removed. And so I stepped right into the footsteps